Yes, pleasant good evening, everyone, and welcome back to this evening's presentation. Well, this evening conversation, we're having a conversation about virtual currencies, cryptocurrencies, any kind of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, just about any kind of cryptocurrency you have, right? Now, this conversation was supposed to be live. However, we're having some technical difficulties streaming through Facebook and all the other platforms that we were planning on streaming through. However, I find it necessary to continue to do this video and to send it to you guys here on all these platforms. But I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. So I'm going to run through real fast on all the things that I wanted to have conversations about tonight where cryptocurrencies is concerned. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about these virtual currencies. Should I invest in cryptocurrency? Should I invest in these virtual currencies and how these things actually work? Now, there are some myths about these currencies that we are going to unlock tonight. We're going to go through and we're going to discuss these in details. Now, there are some great things about these types of asset class that one needs to understand. And then there are pros and cons, just like in any other investments. These kinds of asset, cryptocurrency, it is the number one asset in the world when it comes to, when we're talking about the future, this is going to be the number one asset that create the most millionaire in the shortest possible time. But only if you understand it. Only if you understand what needs to happen with your asset. Only if you understand how you need to move the money around. Because I believe that a lot of people want to use cryptocurrency for their retirement plan. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree that anyone should use it as a retirement plan, because retirement is something that you want to make sure that it's there for when you're ready to retire. You know, cryptocurrency is not 100% money yet. It is going to be money, and I'm going to explain to you when it's going to be money and why it's not 100% money as we speak. Now, another thing is people want to use it for estate planning. It is definitely not the type of tool you want to use for estate planning. More than one reason. Of course, the same reason why you didn't want to use it for retirement is the same reason why you don't want to use it for estate planning. Because it's not like you'll be like, hey, I'm going to leave this asset class here so when my children grow up, they can have it. If I passed away, they can have it. And then, you know, a lot of people have to say that cryptocurrency, you don't have to pay taxes on cryptocurrency. Well, we're going to talk about those things. What are cryptocurrency? Do you have to pay taxes on it? How does the IRS looking at cryptocurrency and other parts of the world? You know, how will they look at it? First, we always have to start with the United States of America. This is the central point for the economical structure globally. And as you know, whatever it is that America is doing, a lot of people, our government worldwide is also going to start following the United States of America. So we have to pay close attention to how the IRS is treating just about any asset class, right? There is nothing further from the truth than cryptocurrency is money, because this is an asset class, of course, but it's not money. It's not 100% money yet. It is going to be money. And again, we're going to go into when it's going to be money. Cryptocurrency is tax-free. Not a myth. It's not tax-free. Cryptocurrency is good for retirement planning. No, it's not good for retirement planning. And I'm going to explain to you why. But before we go further into cryptocurrency, let's first talk about money. Like, what really is money, you know? And like I always say, money is an energy that becomes valuable when two or more individuals find it necessary to exchange ideas. So if one person has something that human value, right? That man value, you know, and let's put that into context, because man is different from human, you know? Man and human is two different things, and we're going to talk about that in a few, who are men and who are human, right? So whatever it is that man value, then that becomes money. So when you look at the history of money, you know, in ancient Africa and ancient Asia, people would trade just about anything of basic human value. Like, for example, there was a time when we trade coffee bean, cocoa bean, nuts, shell, frankincense, myrrh, anything that people value, you could trade it and it would be legal tender. Now, after time, people started valuing other things like soft metals such as gold, silver, and other soft metals. So people would travel from one part of, you know, the continent to another part of the continent. Let's say someone is coming from Ethiopia to Nigeria, for example. That's a long way to travel, and camel and other means of transportation during those days with heavier stuff like gold and silver. Coffee bean and cocoa bean was a little bit different for you to carry than it would be for you to carry gold and silver. So that's when people started finding places that they could store those soft metals. And then when they store those softer metals, then you would have someone that is called, that's where we get the terminology goldsmith from. Because you have a storeroom, and whenever you need to go and purchase something from whatever storage of gold or silver you have, the goldsmith or the silversmith would not give you the gold. They would actually give you a receipt and say, hey, you can take this receipt and you can go trade. And that would be acknowledged by the other person that you're trying to trade with, right? So that's where the concept of paper money came from. What we call money in the early 1900s, 1900s, would be a receipt for a piece of gold. Then later on, we evolved into credit card and other means of wire transfer, right? So some numbers and stuff, transactions in a bank account and so on. Now, it's important for us to follow what has been going on here where money is concerned, is that whenever there is money and whenever there is a illegal tender, there is never a need for any third party item to be involved in the transaction to make a legitimate transaction. For example, whenever there is a currency to a currency transaction, you don't need a third party. Like the Jamaican dollar right now to the US dollar is approximately $150 to one, right? So if I were to use a US dollar to buy 150 Jamaican dollar, I don't need another item in that transaction to make it valuable, right? I'm just transferring one currency to another currency, and I'm not necessarily buying an asset. Now, with that said, the government or anyone that controls the system of bartering and trading and commerce and just about anything that you can think about that makes up an economy, they don't have any power in those transactions either. Like, for example, in this case, the IRS would not have any power in a transaction that I'm making between me taking a US dollar to buy a Jamaican dollar. They can't appreciate or depreciate the value of that to determine did I make a gain or what have you, So that's very important to understand the concept of money. Now, the reason why Bitcoin or any kind of cryptocurrency are not necessarily money is because whenever you're making a transfer, you can't use Bitcoin to create the value. You have to use something else to create the value. Like, let's say, for example, the US dollar. If you're making a transfer, Bitcoin is not the value, right? Like right now, Bitcoin is 60,000 to one US dollar, but Bitcoin is not creating the value. Whenever you're trading that Bitcoin, you have to trade it in based on the calculation used by the US currency. So it is not a standalone dollar in itself, and it will be one day. It will be, and I'm going to explain to you when it actually is going to be a standalone currency. And this is the most important thing that I want you to take away from this conversation, because at that time when money, when the cryptocurrency becomes its own currency, right, when it becomes a standalone currency, it is going to be on a platform when at that point you need to know how it works. Because the same people who've been controlling the system for a very long time, they are going to find ways to devalue your virtual wallet in so many ways, so that the money that you have on that platform will be totally insignificant in comparison to theirs. And I'm going to explain to you what it means in a few, for you to understand what this space is going to be. And it's coming within the next 8 to 10 years. There's going to be a whole different system in place to devalue your virtual wallet. And that's why I was saying that it's definitely not a retirement plan. It's definitely not an estate plan. It is an investment. And when it's an investment, you have to understand that investment goes up and it goes down. It is not a place where money lives. Money needs a home. Money always needs somewhere that it can go live. It's safe, it's protected. No matter what happened in the economy, it's always going to be there. And there are certain things that wealthy people have been using for thousands of years that protects their money from whatever market crash, from whatever economical system involved. And those things are still here today. Oftentimes we don't talk about them. Oftentimes we overlook these things, but it's going to be very important for our generation and the next generation after us to understand the importance of these things, to understand the importance of asset, solid foundation assets that are always going to be there, so that when we talk about creating wealth and creating a legacy and create even a retirement plan or what have you, we actually have these things as a part of our portfolio and don't waste our money or waste our time thinking that all of our money should be sitting inside of these virtual currencies, right? So let's go to some of these myths. So one of the myths is that you don't have to pay taxes on your money and your trade of cryptocurrency. And that is 100%. I don't know where people get that from. I don't know. I think it's more like a sales thing that people. No, let me say something here, right? When it comes to cryptocurrency or virtual currency, it's something that I do believe in. It's something that I do own. You know, as a matter of fact, I became aware of virtual currency, nanotechnology in about 2008, 2009. Right, the person who told me about this was a computer genius. He told me about this virtual currency. I started purchasing Bitcoin in like 2012, 2013, right? So I have had cryptocurrency when it wasn't popular. As a matter of fact, just the other day, the same person came to me with a different concept, and it's called Fusion virtual currency. It's not even cryptocurrency. They have a new concept that is now called Fusion that is more powerful, and I also invest in it. So I do believe in these things and I do invest in these things, but what I don't agree with, what I don't believe, is the illusion and the myth that has been created around these asset class. And I believe that you cannot be wrong and strong at the same time. As a people, you need to know exactly what the foundations are, what the rules are, what the systems are that governs any form of asset class that you are going to make an investment in. Oftentimes, when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to asset, wealth building, whatever it is that we want to call it, when it comes to these kind of things, oftentimes we believe in this one big thing that is going to make us super rich. And we just leave everything else that we're supposed to do and we just move towards this thing. And this is the one thing that we just want to focus on. Hey, I just want to focus on cryptocurrency, or I just want to focus on the stock market. No, that's not how you build wealth. Building wealth is a diversified portfolio, and that is the conversation that we need to be having. How do we incorporate these asset class in our diversified portfolio, and what do we call investment, what do we call savings, what do we call retirement, what do we call estate planning, and so on. Like, it's important that we have these kinds of conversations. We can't just be out here just running around like a chicken with our head cut off, you know what I mean, when it comes to money. So let's dig down into this. Now, when it comes to taxes, now let's look at the IRS and see what IRS is saying about taxes. Now, for example, who have to pay taxes in America or outside of America? Now, the IRS says that any person who is an American citizen or resident who generates income from any source needs to pay taxes in America. And when we say any source, we mean just about any source. And without even saying it, remember that Al Capone actually went to prison for tax evasion, not anything else. He was doing a bunch of other stuff that was wrong, but it was the IRS that actually caught him on tax evasion. So the IRS actually don't care where the money is coming from. As long as you're an American citizen or resident, and you do have a social security number, the IRS is asking you to pay taxes on the money from any source, wherever it's coming from. So, with that said, it's important that we break down some of the basic tax laws that one need to understand, because some of these tax laws also surround crypto or virtual currency. Bartering, B-A-R-T-E-R, that is actually a legal tax terminology. So we know that we use it like, hey, for example, my landscaper may come by and he said, you know what, I can cut your lawn for you, and because it's $100 for me to cut your lawn, if you do my taxes for that normally would be $100, you don't have to pay me and I don't have to pay you. We can call it, we can barter that thing. And all of that sounds good. But when it comes to the IRS code, that's not the way it works. The IRS actually want him to claim the $100 on his tax return, and I claim that $100 on my tax return because it's bartering. Bartering is actually a taxable transaction, and I don't think people understand these things. That when they say, "Hey, I can just trade in my cryptocurrency for whatever the case is," it's bartering, and that is a taxable event. So it's very important. Now, transferring of virtual currency. This is what the IRS have to say. IRS says, while virtual currencies such as Bitcoin operate like real currencies in some situations, they do not have the status of legal tender in any jurisdiction. So the IRS, for federal tax purposes, treat them as property rather than currency. Now, it's very important for us to understand a few things in this statement that the IRS is making where cryptocurrency is concerned. The first thing they said is they don't have any status of legal tender. And that is going to take us to the point that I'm making is cryptocurrency will become its own currency. And there is going to be a particular time when it becomes its own currency. And we're going to talk about when it becomes its own currency. And that is when it actually have jurisdiction. Because IRS said currently it doesn't have a status of legal tender in any jurisdiction. So when it comes to law, brothers and sisters, there's something called jurisdiction of law. We can't just make up stuff as we go along. Like in America, there are 3 jurisdictions of law, which we're not going to go into tonight. But for anything to be a legal tender, it needs a jurisdiction, right? And IRS is saying that you don't have a jurisdiction, right? You don't have any legal status or tender in any particular jurisdiction. Therefore, it is not a currency. So we are treating it for tax purposes as a property, like a piece of real estate. So when you sell this thing, we're gonna look at how much you bought it for, how much you sold it for. And if there is more than what you bought it for, then we're gonna consider that again, right? So there is long-term capital gain and then there's short-term capital gain. So if you hold this asset for more than a year and then it is sold, then we're gonna apply or impose the tax rate at the regular capital gain tax rate, which is typically 15 and 20%, right? Then they're also saying if you hold this asset for less than a year, we're gonna treat it as ordinary income. That means you're gonna have to pay taxes at your regular tax bracket. That's what they call short-term capital gain. They also have what is called a 30-day rule. So because in capital gain you can actually deduct, you get to claim your gain and pay taxes on it, right? So because of that, if there was a loss, you can also deduct your loss if there was a loss. So, but the IRS have a 30-day rule, and the rule says if you purchase or sold cryptocurrency within 30 days, well, if you purchase cryptocurrencies within 30 days before or after you sold for a loss, then you can claim that loss. That actually calculated as a part of your gain and loss. So it becomes a wash. Now you may say, then if that's the case, is there a rule for if I were to gain and I purchase and I use that same money to purchase back within that 30-day period, is that considered a like-kind exchange? You know, like in real estate, there's something called a 1031 exchange where you could actually take the money that you make from a real estate property, and if you identify a property within 40 days and close the sale within 120 days, then the IRS consider that a 1031 a like-kind exchange. Unfortunately, with cryptocurrency, that law does not exist yet. So it only exists on the wash side, the loss side for the wash. That if it's a case that you would have sold or traded in your currency for a loss, and you would have normally claimed it on your tax return as a loss, but within that 60-day window, 60 days before or 30 days before or 30 days after you have purchased cryptocurrencies, then the IRS consider that to be a wash, right? So very important that you understand that. Now, the next thing is the IRS says it's very important that you keep track on your currency because they have something called a trade lot, right? So they say it's very important for taxpayers to keep track on of every Bitcoin purchase, right? Each purchase is considered a trade lot, right? And when you sell Bitcoin, of course they're using Bitcoin here because that is the most popular one, right? But I mean all of them. When you sell Bitcoin, or use it to buy goods or services, very important for you to understand this point, it is important for the taxpayer to keep track of which trade lot were included in the sale. So it is what they're saying here is that you want to make sure that each trade lot that you purchase, you keep in track of that. Because yes, we know you're gonna buy more trade lot in the future. But whenever you make a transfer for whether it is goods, service, or assets, or whatever the case is, you have to record which of the trade lots you're using from. And they're doing this because they want to know whether it's a long-term or short-term capital gain, right? So if you have purchased a trade lot in January of 2021, right, and then in February of 2022, you have made a transaction, but you have purchased more trade lot, let's say in June or July of January of 2021, the IRS want to know, are you using from this trade lot that is more than 12 months, or are you using from the one that is less than 12 months? Because that's going to determine how much taxes you're going to pay on that transaction. Very important. Now, they also have one here for credit card transaction. It says some credit cards are tied to Bitcoin accounts, where every credit card purchase sells a tiny amount of Bitcoin, pay for it, right? For every credit card purchase sells, a tiny amount of Bitcoin pays for it. That is a taxable event. Some credit cards offer Bitcoin as a reward for using the card. That is also a taxable event, guys. So I want you to understand that there are tax implications in these accounts, that you can't make these stuff up as you go along. There are actually rules that the IRS have put in place. And I always say to people that in America, your greatest friend in America is the IRS. If you understand the IRS, you can be in the game. If you don't understand the IRS, they will become your first enemy. But the IRS always tell you about the future. And I'm saying this, guys, because there are some key things that the IRS did mention, like jurisdiction and all of those things, are very important things for you to understand what the IRS is talking about when they talk about jurisdiction, right? And property and all of those things, and currency. Those are terminologies that one should also understand. So the next thing is Bitcoin, and we're using the word Bitcoin here, for income tax purposes. Now remember we talked about bartering and trading earlier. Now bartering is a taxable event. So if the taxpayer accept Bitcoin for services, they have taxable earned income. They owe ordinary income tax. They may also owe self-employment tax. The same is true if the taxpayer is mining Bitcoin. So not only if you actually buying the Bitcoin from the virtual wallet, but if you're mining it from your computer. Like I personally, in 2012, I started that thing, right? Where I started mining my own Bitcoin. Right? I say, mined Bitcoin must be valued as income at a fair market value the day it is mined. Once the Bitcoin is mined and the taxpayer has paid income tax, it enters the inventory and becomes its own trade lot. So any subsequent gain are taxed as either long-term or short-term capital gain based on the tax rate at the time. So the portion of the mine which you paid income tax on becomes a part of your wallet, so to speak, right? And then that, for accounting term, accountant normally call it your basis. So that's like your basis. That's what you really put in after the tax is gone, right? After the tax is paid, the income tax is paid. So anything that you earn above your basis, when any other transaction take place, then you're gonna have to pay capital gain tax, and the portion depends on the appreciation of that portion, right? Now, cryptocurrencies are also used for wages. Some people may say, hey, you work for me, I pay you salary and wages in cryptocurrency as opposed to giving you US dollars in cash, right? So they say wages paid to employees using virtual currency are taxed to the employee. And it must be reported by an employer and a Form W-2 and tax statement. So tax statement means from 941s, from 940s, and so on, right? Those are the quarterly tax returns that the business owner would have filed. And the W-2 is what the employee would receive at the end of the year that they get to claim their ordinary taxes, right? And that would have shown their Social Security withholding and their Medicaid withholding and so on, right? And they said, and are subject to federal income tax withholding and payroll taxes. That's what we just talked about. They said, payment using virtual currency are taxable to recipient, such as independent contractors and self-employment tax rule generally apply. Payers may need to file Form 1099. And of course, what they're really saying here is that if you transfer your Bitcoin or your any form of cryptocurrency to a person who has provided some kind of service for you who is not an employee, then that person is a contractor, right? And then if it is more than the IRS threshold, which I think in 2021 is like $600 per year per contractor, then you'd have to file a Form 1099 and a Form 1096, the summary, to submit to the IRS. So guys, I'm just saying that these myths that exist surrounding taxes and the cryptocurrency, we can't fall into these traps. You know, we have to understand whatever we're doing. We have to understand the rules that surround them, and we have to consider these things as an asset. Don't think that this thing is coming here just broops. It's just the answer for our problem, and we no longer need to focus on money and day-to-day financial planning and things that actually have solid historical foundation. We need to see them as an asset for now and invest in them and understand that money needs a home. You can go make money in cryptocurrency and then you have to take it back somewhere where it's protected and you can use it to build lasting legacy. You know, cryptocurrency is crazy. It makes crazy amount of money. I just invest in, it's not even cryptocurrency, they call it the fusion currency. November 30th, it was $1 per currency. December 1st, it was $20 per currency, right? So if I had put, which I did, I put $1,000 in that account, right? And in 2023, it's going to be $2.5 million. There is no other asset class that can do that right now. So it is the asset class that is going to create the most millionaire in the shortest possible time. Remember that the more millionaire was created between 1928 and 1933 than any other time in American history. And we're not just talking about America, we're talking about the world, because the virtual currency is reaching people all over the world. Now, it is important for us to understand how these plans actually do work and where we call in this jurisdiction. Where is this jurisdiction when they will actually be currency? And that is the most important thing of everything that we've talked about this evening. The most important thing you want to learn, the takeaway right here is, when will cryptocurrency become a real currency and where will it become a real currency? Because like the IRS is saying, it's not a legal tender because it lacks jurisdiction. And like I said, there has to be a jurisdiction of law. In order for money to be a currency, it needs a jurisdiction. And it can't be anywhere and just become a currency, right? So they have to create a jurisdiction for these types of asset class. They have to create that in order for them to become a currency. So it's very important for anyone to understand that when it comes to money. Money have rules that surround it, right? And one should always study the history of money when making financial decisions. Because like Marcus Garvey said, if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going. You know what I mean? So you have to know the history of these things in order for you to know where they are right now. You know? So if you were to study, for example, the internet, right now we are living in we coexisting in two dimensions right now. Like we're living a real, normal, natural life. But we also live in a media life, which is typically on the internet. You know, I mean, think about this, like, there are people who live their normal day-to-day life on a day-to-day basis, but no one knows or talked about those people because they're not on the internet showing it. The people who you talk about are the people who give you videos on a day-to-day basis that you can follow. right? Those are the people who you fans of, right? The celebrities, the movie star, the superstar, especially since the COVID-19, we have taken it to a totally different level where this media is concerned. TikTok and Instagram and all these things that I can't even keep up with this stuff anymore. I don't even make video. I used to have YouTube channel since 2011, 2012. I don't even make videos anymore. And it's not because I don't want to make videos. It's just like so much, you know. It's like it consumes so much of your time so that you don't get to participate in the real world anymore the way that you really want to participate. And don't get me wrong, I value what's going on the internet. I understand the importance of it. I understand the marketing aspect of it. And I understand the power of providing information to people, especially our people, so that we can have these knowledge and information so that we can empower ourselves. And I do. And that's why I'm doing this video right now, right? And like I said, this is really my first video since about 2019, since the COVID-19. People have been asking me for video, and I'm just here right now because I feel the need and the importance for me to continue to share these knowledge with people. But I have to face it. I'm not the person who is going to live my life in the walls, in the realms of these internet stuff. I have to live a real natural life, So let's face it, there is two dimensions that we coexist in it at the same time right now. And we've been doing this since 1999. We've been doing this since 2000, since the dot-com era. We've been doing that. Now, it is going to go to the next level. It is going to go to the next level. And then the next level, that is when the cryptocurrency is going to become a real currency. And I want you to follow me right now. The cryptocurrency is not a real currency because it lacks jurisdiction. America is not the jurisdiction. Haiti is not the jurisdiction. England is not the jurisdiction. It's just something out there. So in order for it to become a real currency where it can actually trade and the IRS have nothing to do with it and it won't be considered a property, it needs a jurisdiction. Now, where do you think this jurisdiction is going to be? That's the question. Where do you think this jurisdiction is going to be? This jurisdiction is actually going to be a virtual space. It's not going to be a physical, geographical location on the map of Earth that you have. It is going to be all of that, but on a virtual platform. So this is not new, guys. It is going to be like the movie, The Avatar. So all of us on this space here, on this platform here, we're going to have an avatar of ourselves that is going to coexist in a different space. That is going to buy real estate. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to go dining and go on vacation. And the things that we just thinking. Like our avatar is actually going to go there and just start live and just start exist. And all of this is going to happen within the next 10 years. And I'm not going to profit. But I've been studying this money thing for a very long time. And I'm looking at the history of money coming all the way up to this cryptocurrency. And in order for it to become what we think it is right now, it have to have its jurisdiction. And what better place for it to have a jurisdiction than a place that actually model what it really is? But the important thing for you to learn right now, if you have cryptocurrency, is this. The most important thing for you to learn is this. You need to understand that there are few people who control this entire world. There are few people who control this world economy. And those few people, they set the rates for everything. So the money that you have in your virtual wallet, once you become that avatar and you start participating in that virtual space, you only the 100 million, you only the 50 million, you only the 20 million, won't mean anything to their trillions of dollars. They can create the illusion to sell a real estate property on that virtual space for $1 billion. A 1-bedroom apartment, a studio, they can do that. Because now the dollar amount just become so much more significant. They can create that illusion of whatever it's going to be. So yes, you're thinking that the IRS is your enemy. You're thinking that, oh, I don't want to trade in my money because I don't want to pay taxes on it. That's what they might tell you. Come and keep your money into this virtual wallet. Keep your money into this place. It's going to be your retirement and all that kind of stuff. But once everybody, just like the reason why Bitcoin is valuable today is because enough people believe in it. The reason why Ethereum is valuable today is because enough people believe in it. The reason why any one of these concepts are valuable is because enough people believe in it. Once they identify and they launch this virtual space and enough people believe in it, immediately your $1 billion is devalued based on the amount of money that is going to be in that world. Because it's a world in itself. And it's going to be a few people. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is going to be a few people who are going to be interested in living in the natural world that we have today. Because look at what's going on today. There are more people who are interested in the online stuff than the real stuff. The world get crazy. I'm from Jamaica. And I can tell you that the world get crazy. People get crazy. People don't talk to people anymore. People don't work out issues with people anymore. They have an issue, broops, social media. They post it. The guy lives next door to the guy and the guy won't even go to the guy and say, boy, I don't have an issue with you, man. You know, like, they don't do that no more. And that's a third world country. Just imagine what's going to happen in the first world country. That's why the Bible said the last shall be the first and the first shall be the last. And the reality is, no matter what religion that you're a part of, this is going to be the time when everybody is going to come back to the teaching of the man that the white man called Jesus. When he said that the meek shall inherit the earth. Because at that time, only the meek alone will inherit the earth. Most people's body is going to be just thrown down into like a settee or a chair or something. And they just capture into this virtual space. And that's where they're living their lives. This is not new, guys. It's been going on in Japan and these places. It's been going on in a lot of places. It's not new. The avatar is not a new thing. You know what I mean? Just watch the movie again and picture yourself in that realm. Just watch the movie The Avatar. Go back, watch that movie The Avatar and picture yourself in that realms. And I'm saying that is when, and that's the only time when cryptocurrency will become a real currency, and that is when it have jurisdiction. So it's important for you to understand that this right now is an asset class, and it's good for you to make money. And if you want to exist into the real natural world, if that is something that interests you, if you are a man, and when I say man, I mean male and female, because man actually mean male and female. It is some people who aren't man actually create human. The terminology human to make one human family. But a lot of people walking around here today aren't a part of the natural man. I mean, that's not a conversation that people are ready for. But I told you, you know, don't wake up a sleeping lion. I've been away for a while. I haven't made any video. You came and asked me these questions because you want me to answer them. But a lot of things is going to happen in this near future. Make sure you're giving your children the right information and the right education and empowering them and help them to understand this natural life. Right now, I want to buy a whole heap of land all over the place, you know. Yeah, and start plant up and start living again. And yes, I invest in these things, but I invest so that I can build up my asset base, so that I can do things in the natural world, buy real estate and do other things that has been around for hundreds of years, thousands of years. But yeah, I hope this video make a lot of sense to you, or not. But either or, if you think of anybody that it will value, that it will add value to, share it, man. anyone that you know that could benefit from this video, share it. You know, let me know in the comment section what you feel about this video. I know it's a lot of things have been said that, you know, it's kind of different. You know what I mean? So let me know how you feel about this topic, and also any other topic that you'd like me to cover. Please leave it in the comment section. You know what I mean? If you like it, give me a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, then give me a thumbs down, because that's the world we're living in, you know? I just want it to be fair and square. Yeah? Yeah, man. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. One love all the time, and a bless up yourself, and I don't know. Boom. See you there.